right on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is the Morning Moment. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. I wanted to do a piece on Bill C-75. This piece that I'm doing right now is from the Globe and Mail. There'll be a link on my site. This is just part of the article. Alan Rock is the President Emeritus and a Professor of Law at the University of Ottawa and is a former Minister of Justice and Attorney General for Canada. In the summer of 2016, the Supreme Court delivered an unequivocal call to action. It called on the criminal justice system actors to undertake a real and transformative change. It called for an end to a culture of complacency plaguing our court. The Jordan decision, one of the few Canadian court decisions to become a household name, created the expectation among Canadians that the government would act to improve the criminal justice system. Bill C-75 is the Trudeau government's response to that challenge. While the proposed legislation does not address all of the problems in the system, it would resolve many of them. It is a commendable piece of legislation and merits the support of Canadians. Much of the bill is a direct response to the Supreme Court decision. The court explicitly encouraged Parliament to consider the value of preliminary inquiries in the light of expanding disclosure obligation, a call echoed by provincial attorney generals across the country and by some chief justices when they were created. Preliminaries provided the principal means by which the accused learned the particulars about the Crown's case against them. Nowadays, stringent obligations compel prosecutors to make full disclosure as a matter of course. In short, preliminaries are no longer necessary. But to do it justice, I do feel it's necessary to reinvent the wheel. Now that's how the Globe and Mail covers Bill C-75. Now I'm going to tell you the truth about C-75. Well, in fact, I'm not, because I don't believe in doing something that someone else has done far better than I could possibly do. His name is Frank Vaughan. I'm going to play part of a video that he's done, which is on YouTube. I will put a link to it, and I want you to make your own mind up. You heard what I read out there from the Globe and Mail. That's the mainstream media's view, and the powers that be, who control us at the present time, believe it or not. And then you hear from an ordinary person who's done his homework on this bill. And it is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. I urge you to watch the full video and pass it on, because this is not a game. This is real. And it could affect your life very, very easily.
Ralph Goodale, this is our Minister of Justice website right now. And they've got, as their caption, Canada tables legislation to modernize the criminal justice system and reduce court delays. So they're billing this as an efficiency bill. Now I want you guys to remember that all through the last week and the week before, the government was virtue signaling about how C-71 was going to keep Canadians safer by further regulating legal gun owners somehow. By making people who've never broken the law jump through more hoops. That's going to make Canada a safer place. And in the wake of that bullshit, they've come out with C-75. And what's C-75 going to do? They dropped this thing last Thursday before they all go back to their ridings for 2 weeks for their Easter break. And they dropped this thing, I guess, hoping we weren't going to notice, hoping nobody was going to pick up on it. And thank you to Tracy Wilson for pointing this out to me. She was enraged. She did a little live stream, and then we got on the phone and we talked, and she pointed this out to me, and I started looking at it and started researching it. And yeah, so offenses in relation to sexual offenses against children, the Liberals are actually going to reduce the sentencing requirements for people who commit sex acts against children. They're going to reduce the penalty requirements for childhood marriage and forced marriage. They're going to reduce the penalties for people who forge passports. They're going to reduce penalties for people who smuggle firearms across the border. At the same time as they're claiming they're getting tougher on crime, and they want to get tougher on crime by regulating legal gun owners, they're actually reducing penalties for people who commit crime, violent crime. They're reducing penalties for people who commit acts of terrorism or engage in conspiracy to commit terror. They're going to reduce the penalties for people who harbor terrorists. Now tell me where this is coming from. Is this an influence on our government coming from extremist sources? We know that the government's under the influence of extremism, and now it seems to be getting enshrined in the law. I haven't had time to detail this bill, But like concealing a person who is likely to carry out a terrorist activity could be punishable just by a summary conviction, which means it'll be in the hands of the Crown and the judges who have a tendency to be lenient because we now reward terrorists. Remember, we got to sort of follow the dots here.
You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab, and email. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on the links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all my morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio, that's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can find all my podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com and click on the Morning Moments tab.